How do I tell my husband a friend of his sexually humiliated me a year before we met and I don't want him in my house? I 33F am married to the love of my life 40 meters. This situation happened about 5 years ago. I had been dating an alcoholic for years. When I ended this relationship and after receiving individual counseling plus attending Al-Anon, I have to add, I felt ready to date. Also kept a plant alive a year long. I went on a few dates, felt pretty horrified a few times while I tried online dating, then met a cute cashier at a record store. Let's call him McSleazy. He went over the records I was purchasing and we had many mutual musical interest. I took a chance and gave him my number. I remember thinking he was adorable and was giddy. We went on a few dates before one ultimately ended up at my apartment. We got takeout and rented a movie. We ended up having sex at the beginning of the movie, and when we took a break realized the movie was over. I thought this was something special, but in an instant it changed. We began having sex again and he pinned me down on my stomach so I couldn't move. I asked him to stop and he basically held my head back, making it difficult to talk. At this point it's like I blacked out almost. When he finished I was in pain and bleeding. I began panicking and told him to get the fuck out. I remember sticking my face in my pillow and screaming when he left. Just yikes. The next day I woke up and got on Facebook to block him. I looked at his page and he had posted various memes that morning about tearing bitches up. I was humiliated and very upset. So fast forward, dated a while longer than met husband. Dated, got married, and I just had a baby a few months ago. My husband is a musician and plays in a few metal bands. His absolute favorite project will be No More. The guitarist moved out of state. I started to encourage him to find some people to jam with. Parenthood is hard and he has a crazy stressful job, so I want him to always be involved in music. It's his outlet. I never want to hinder that. So of course I'm finding out McSleazy, who didn't even exist to me, is in my husband's overall outer friend group. Friends of friends have encouraged them to get together and my husband's looking forward to people coming to jam now that COVID restrictions are lifting. They want to organize a date in the next few weeks and I was so excited to cook for everyone. I asked who was coming and if I needed to prepare vegan options. He listed a few names, then said McSleazy. I knew the name immediately. It's unique. I later asked my husband if he had him on social media and he showed me his picture. I panicked but remained calm and said okay. They are Facebook friends and I'd how McSleazy doesn't recognize me. My husband posts lots of pictures of our daughter and what do I do? Am I being dramatic? I have to add I've been struggling with postpartum so bad, so I don't know if this is just me being crazy. I want my husband to be happy but I don't want that guy in my house. Any advice? I am so unbelievably sorry that this was done to you and is happening to you. You are not being dramatic or crazy in the slightest. This person violated you egregiously and sounds very dangerous. Do you think that your husband would respond appropriately if you told him? As in, do you think he would believe you and cut off his friendship with the person who harmed you? Or are you at all worried about how he might react? I am not worried about him believing me at all. My husband is not a violent guy, but he's not afraid of a confrontation and is outspoken. He is also very protective of me. This has brought up a lot, and reading the comments I'm like maybe I was assaulted, but I'm in disbelief at the same time. How he will react now, honestly. I've sat on this reply for about 5 minutes now thinking about it. I just wish this situation would go away and I fear of friends finding out. Honey, he didn't just sexually humiliate you, he raped you. You are not overreacting. Please tell your husband what happened and that you never want this person in your home, much less anywhere near your child. If it's easier, you could even just have him read this post if you don't think you feel comfortable talking about it, but he needs to know about this guy and the dude needs to stay far away from your home. Tell your husband about this sooner than later. It may be difficult, but nothing good can come from keeping it from him. I worry that sexually humiliated is you adopting a euphemism to downplay the reality of the intensity of what occurred. He held you down, you said no, he proceeded and he hurt you. I think you know what that actually represents. Be clear. There are other guitarists. It might delay him a couple of weeks or whatever, but better that than weeks. months, maybe even years of having to interact with someone that assaulted you so profoundly. You needn't be clear on why you have concerns. Your husband shouldn't need that. If a partner came to me and said please do not allow that person into my life, I would cut them out. It has happened to me and I later found out, though obviously I suspected, that he had assaulted her. I won't tell you what to call it, but do encourage you to reflect more realistically and determine if maybe therapy would help you sort out your feelings. But don't feel the need to humor that creep just to allow your husband to potentially start the project sooner. Eventually he will notice the harm it is causing you, and I actually think he will feel guilty that he hurt you without realizing it. I would lose my shit if that man came to my house. Tell your husband what happened. Maybe show him this post. I, 25, want a divorce from my husband, 27, but he wants to stay together. Advice? About a month ago my husband and I got into a fight. Nothing serious, just something small that happens every now and then, and I didn't think much of it. Figured it would pass in a day or two and everything would go back to normal, which it would have, if not for my husband's friend. You see, after my husband and I had this fight, I left to go run errands and his friend, let's call him Tony, came over to drop something off after work. My husband and his friend hung out for about an hour or two before Tony had to leave, which again I was aware of and didn't think much of. They hang out often and it's not out of the norm. About 2 days after our fight I actually ran into Tony at our local pharmacy. I had about a 20-minute wait and Tony spent a few minutes catching up with me to see how everything was going. Explained that work was fine. I asked how he was doing and about his job. You know, normal small talk you have with people that you aren't very close with. While we were making conversation you could tell he seemed a little nervous. He kept on looking at his phone and would avoid eye contact with me, which was a little strange. He was always a chill guy. He ended up leaving and a few minutes later he came back in and asked if he could talk to me in the parking lot. At this point I was a little weirded out, but I agreed. Once we were outside he explained to me that the day he went over to see my husband, the day he and I had our fight, he said a lot of horrible things about me and he thought I had the right to know. This is everything Tony told me that my husband said. I'm a bitch, I'm a cunt, I'm overweight, I'm not something worth being with anymore. He thinks something is mentally wrong with me. I treat people like animals. I used to be more fun, I used to be more attractive, and that he hasn't gotten much out of this relationship. Tony said that my husband was just venting to him after our fight, but he felt uncomfortable with everything he was saying about me. Tony said that if he had a partner say all of those horrible things about him, that he would want to know. I thanked him for letting me know, feeling kind of numb not knowing what to believe. Tony ended up going home and I got my medication, but I ended up just sitting in my car thinking about everything that was said to me. Then I remembered that I have security cameras set up in my home, and I decided to watch what happened when Tony came over, and it was really bad. Everything that Tony said was true, and the way my husband was talking to me sounded like he hated me, especially the part when he said I wasn't someone worth being with anymore and that he hasn't gotten anything out of this relationship. So, I was crushed, and immediately confronted my husband when I came home. I didn't tell him that Tony told me, just said that I was looking back over security footage and saw him saying those horrible things about me. He was shocked and immediately apologized. Explained that he said those things out of anger and would never say any of those things to my face. Asked what he could do to make it better, but I don't think he can make it better at this point. It's been a month and I just feel myself avoiding him whenever possible. I don't want him to kiss me or touch me, I just want him to leave me alone. I don't really feel anything for him right now. I don't hate him, but I currently don't feel love for him. I'm just a mess of emotions and a part of me just wants to leave him. I've brought up divorce a few times with him and he shuts it down every time. He tries to buy me gifts and does things around the house, anything to get me to forgive him. Which I have forgiven him, I guess. But it doesn't change the fact that I heard those horrible things and I'm having a really hard time getting past what he said. I don't know what to do, and I'm looking for any relationship advice you guys can give. Edit. My husband and I live in a somewhat sketchy area and we don't trust our neighbors, so we put up security cameras. He and I both know about them and have access to all of them. It's not like I have hidden cameras all over the house trying to catch him saying something horrible about me. Also, they're in cameras, so you can get the audio and video. No, this isn't fake. I appreciate every comment I've gotten about this. Truly. I understand that both parties don't have to agree to the divorce, which I should have said somewhere in this post. I asked my husband if he wanted to get divorced because it sounded like he hated me, and he explained that he said everything out of anger and didn't mean it. The reason I'm still considering divorce is because I'm worried that he's staying with me out of convenience and not because he actually loves me. When I confronted him about what I saw on the security footage, I asked him how he would feel if I said all of those things about him. He explained that he would feel heartbroken but would give me a second chance. So yeah, I did ask him that, and he has been trying to do better. I'm just still feeling off about everything that happened, and that's why I went to the relationship advice subreddit. I've never been in a situation like this before and wondered what you guys would have to say. I'm considering bringing up couples therapy with him, not sure how he would take it. He's working full-time and is also going to college, so I'm not sure if his schedule will let him do it anytime soon. Something else I should have mentioned in this post is that school and work is really stressing him out, so there is a chance that he snapped from stress and decided to take it all out on me. Which I'm not excusing his behavior, just saying there is a chance he doesn't mean it and just snapped because of stress. I'm conflicted, to be perfectly honest, and even though this happened about a month ago, I'm having a hard time coming to terms with everything. So yeah, thank you guys for reading and commenting. 3. I'm bothered that your husband thought never saying it to your face means his words are acceptable to everyone else. If he always does this, then people would start wondering if what he says is true. This isn't how you speak about loved ones. Yeah, you might get pissed off, but crossing the verbal line like this, he really set the bridge on fire. The best I can offer you from experience is to either talk through the situation, express all feelings and explain how this is not okay behavior, or leave the relationship. I don't say this lightly. To leave the relationship. It's just, in life, there's some words you can't take back. If these words were too harsh, then it is completely acceptable to move on. Do be aware that if you do not talk this out, if you decide, this will turn into resentment. What he said was so bad that his friend broke the bro code to tell you. Clearly gifts and errands and such isn't going to fix this. I think you two need some counseling if you want this marriage to last. However, it is completely up to you whether you want to try and fix what's broken. I would totally understand you not being able to see yourself getting over your husband saying such vile things to someone about you, but the next person may be able to forgive that. I wouldn't be able to stay knowing my spouse felt like it was okay to say those things about me. That sounds like some deeply rooted feelings he's had for some reason and finally let them out. I'm really sorry, but that's beyond fucked up. That's what I was worried about, that he's felt this way about me for a long time and would never admit it to me. Oh, trust me, when someone says something to you out of anger, most of the time it's what he really think about you. Lesson learned with my father, my GF, and pretty much everyone who got angry at me. I'm 26M, breaking up with my GF 26F, single mom. How do I tell her son 10M? This. My GF and I have been dating for 2 years and I became very close to her son. He never had a father figure in his life and I kind of stepped into the role. He never called me dad or anything like that, but we were quite close. I was like an uncle to him. I realized I no longer wanted to be in the relationship and my GF and I have agreed to part ways. Obviously parting ways with her means parting ways with her son. He is especially attached to me, like I said earlier on. I know he has had some trauma in the past and I'd probably be adding on to it. I have also been supporting the two of them during these trying times, so not only would he lose me but he would lose his home and some financial security. I've given his mom some time to move out, but she will most likely be living in a dingy apartment and they would be living off food banks. As the relationship is over, I don't want to be giving money to them and I think my ex needs to sort things out herself. Also, I will be moving on in life and I will meet other people. I don't think it's wise for me to continue a relationship with him. I know there is no good way to tell him, but I want to minimize the damage. Right now I'm thinking of taking him to the park and telling him over some ice cream. Too long didn't read. GF and I broke up and I want to tell her son.